Hello, and welcome to my presentation, Dystopic Heroes, exploring the possibility of heroism in the dystopias from Alan Moore to WandaVision. My name is Marco Favaro, and I am a PhD candidate at the Otto Friedrich Universität Bamberg in cooperation with Universität di Verona. This presentation was held for the first time at the Superhero Project, the 5th global meeting, at the University Duisburg-Essen, the 10th and 12th September 2021. Analyzing the superhero in connection to the dystopic narrative is revealing. On the one side, there is a reality where good and evil are not distinguished anymore, and the world is chaotic and senseless, or if it still has a meaning, it is distorted and corrupted. On the other side, the hero is a figure who represents the good and fight for a noble purpose. The hero as he is intended today, the superhero for example, proposes a clear distinction between good and evil, however not necessarily a definition. At the same time, the dystopia, although negative, often forces one to clash with an ambiguous reality, where guilty and innocent are confused with each other. Here it is not the hero, but the anti-hero who has his kingdom. What is a dystopia? As the name suggests, it is a dystopos, a bad place. It is the contrary of the utopos, the good place. However, the term coined by Thomas More also means an autopos, a no place. Dystopias are the opposite of the good place, but they can be autopos, imaginary reality, as well as concrete and tangible world. While describing dystopias, Francesco Muzioli highlights that if we imagine a utopia, it is because reality is already, at least in part, dystopic. The first dystopian scenario, writes Muzioli, is precisely the background on which utopia stands out, the real world. It is possible to find numerous examples of dystopic realities in history: catastrophes, despotic states, plague. The distinction is not only epistemological, but it reveals concrete consequences. It is correct to say that dystopia presents a stronger connection with reality compared to utopia. The utopia cannot be reached and cannot be real without ceasing to be such. When a utopia becomes real, it quickly turns into its opposite, and the utopic dream becomes a dystopic nightmare. And WandaVision. After a trauma in both these narratives, Scarlet Witch uses her power to transform the world around her completely. However, her intentions are not villainous. In House of M, for example, the purpose of her brother Pietro, Quicksilver, who persuades Wanda to use her power and transform the whole world, were noble. He wants me to be happy, he wants all of us to be happy, says Wanda in House of M. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. We could say that the road to dystopia is paved with utopic intentions. On the one hand, the question is, what kind of methods are justified in order to achieve an utopia? On the other, how would a real utopia look like? The difficulty of defining a utopia that everyone could agree on is bound with the superhero's mission. As Coogan writes, the superhero's mission is to fight evil and protect the innocent. However, at the moment that the evil the superhero fights against, and consequently the good that he protects, should receive a clear definition, superhero's mission could become more controversial. The problem arises when we ask ourselves what is good, as Umberto Eco wrote in The Myth of Superman. So long the superhero protects an overall good society from a clearly evil menace, there are no problems. However, if the superhero's mission would be not to defend a society but rather to create a utopia, then what is good should have a concrete and defined answer. How should this society look like? Which values should it have? What happens if not everybody agrees on the society that the superhero wants to create? One person's utopia could be another person's dystopia. In WandaVision, Wanda's personal utopic small town is a living hell for all the other West viewers. In House of M, to define which kind of world is portrayed is even more difficult. In the new world created by Wanda, the mutants are not anymore a neglected minority, but the dominant species. America is ruled by Magneto, but not as a despotic state, and every Avengers received by Scarlet Witch all they ever wanted. Is House of M a dystopia? Or is it a mutant utopia? Or is it just a different kind of world? While in WandaVision, the living hell for the best viewers define a dystopic situation, in House of M, the world could be a mutant dystopia for the humans, but a dreaming utopia for the mutants. Which is the superhero's role, then? As Kitty Pryde says in House of M, to fight against this reality could be dangerous. I quote, "Are we supposed to do this? Doesn't try to put the world back after what's happened seem just as bad as what's been done to it. We might make it worse." Even more emblematic is the answer of Spider-Woman. And who is being hurt here exactly? Magneto got what he wanted, but so did we. They gave us what we always wanted. And isn't there an argument that we deserve to get this, to be happy for once? Who are we to decide how the world's supposed to be? In House of M, the role of the superheroes is not clear. Are they trying to restore a previous situation, or are they trying to revolutionize the mutant society? However, if superheroes became proactive, they inevitably became more controversial figures. What happens if superheroes try to change the world? One type of dystopia, which gives us an example of a possible answer to this question of what happens if superheroes try to change the world, is the totalitarianism, the totalitarian and despotic states. The superhero is not necessarily opposed to this kind of state. As a status quo defender, superheroes could be used as defenders of a repressive society, or they could even be the ones who impose it. It is the case of Superman Red Son. The premises of Superman Red Son are simple. As the music suggests, the premises of Superman Red Son is, what if Superman would be a socialist? What if, instead of falling in Kansas, Kal-El's spaceship would land on an Ukrainian farm during Stalin's regime? What if Superman would fight for truth, justice and the socialist way? The Soviet Union, in Superman Red Son, thanks to the infinite power of the Man of Steel, succeeds in dominating almost the whole world. However, once again, is this a dystopia? While in a what-if like Injustice, Superman Simple becomes an evil dictator, in Superman Red Son, Superman is motivated by the same desire to help humanity and to be a symbol of hope, like the canonical version, only with different perspective and different values. I was never a soldier, I just fought for what was right, reflects the Red Son. Once again, in his eyes, he is building an utopia. However, that's the fundamental difference. He does not just want to inspire and protect, but he becomes proactive. In this scene, we see the major difference between Red Son and the canonical Superman's version. I quote, "I could take care of everyone's problem if I run this place, and, to tell you the truth, there is no good reason why I shouldn't," tells Superman to Lana. Here is it possible to see the main difference with our Superman. Here he chooses not to just inspire, but to rule. He chooses to impose his idea of good, his utopia. He wants to save humanity. He wants to build an utopia. However, to do that, he must impose his values and worldview on those who disagree with him, and his methods became slowly more and more repressive, like using brain surgery to suppress dangerous ideas. This is the heart of the problem. Spider-Woman question: who are we to decide how the world's supposed to be? The aporia, which Umberto Eco indicated in the myth of Superman. To build an utopia, values, laws, and basically an idea of good should be clearly defined. However, the concrete definition of these values will inevitably cause disagreement, opposition. Red Sun World could be defined as utopia, just like House of M. In his world, in his utopia, every adult had a job, every child a hobby, and the entire human population enjoyed the full 8 hours sleep which their bodies required. Crime didn't exist. Accidents never happened. Nevertheless, people feel oppressed and fight against the regime. Consequently, the only way to achieve Red Sun perfect world is by imposing it, with violence and repression, by denying individual freedom. I offer them utopia, but they fought for the right to live in hell, reflects Miller's Superman. Something similar is noticed by Dostoevsky in Note from Underground. Dostoevsky described what these characters believe to be the fundamental characteristic of the human being, that will do everything to prove his freedom, also if it comports personal harm. Human being, so Dostoevsky, will do everything to prove that, even to himself, that he is a man, that he is free, and not that he is not just the key of a piano, so Dostoevsky. Also, the question is, can utopia exist without imposition? Or is it better to be free in hell than to be slave in a paradise? Similar dystopic world is presented in V for Vendetta. The London of V is also a totalitarianism. Here the roles are reversed and the hero does not impose a despotic utopia, but is opposed to it. It seems that the narrative structure proposes a classic dichotomy hero-villain, where the villain is the dictator of the totalitarian state himself. However, it could be a mistake to confuse the story's protagonist with the hero of the story. Seeing V in Guy Fawkes' mask as a purely positive symbol of rebellion impoverishes the complexity of the character and brings him back to the comfortable hero-villain, good-evil dichotomy. Instead, it is necessary to use a different register in dealing with characters like V. This mask is often used as an icon, a symbol of positive rebellion in a fight against a despotic power. Nevertheless, V has all the characteristics that define a terrorist, as Grantham notes. I quote, "These actions can also be seen as those of a terrorist driven by a petty desire for revenge." End of quote. V defines himself as a villain, and these inspirational figures are also controversial, like Macbeth, Satan, and of course Guy Fawkes. He is aware that his actions are morally wrong. He tortures, he kills. His technique includes bombing and other terroristic methods. V is also pretty clear about his role and himself. Why, then, he is usually considered a positive hero? The answer can be found in his dystopic London. This London is ruled by the North White Party, a fascistic organization similar to Nazi Germany or Stalinist Russia. How can we, with our values, condemn these terroristic actions inside this kind of society? I quote, "Such actions may be morally reprehensible, but the social reality in which they are shown to exist has the capacity capacity to position the reader to accept, through perhaps not condone, action and ideologies that might otherwise condemn. To be a hero, we must be a villain. This challenge of our moral and values is typical of a dystopic and anti-heroic narrative. The extreme dystopic situation forces us to challenge our moral compass and accept and even condone actions that we would usually condemn as evil and immoral. Even terrorism can be interpreted as acceptable, though perhaps not condonable, in response to the hostile society reality in which the narrative is set, writes Grantham. Watchmen's America is maybe not yet a dystopic as much as V's London, but it is on the verge of a nuclear apocalypse, which is the hero's role in a society which is self-destructing. Most heroes are completely powerless. Emblematic, Night Owl, whose helplessness in front of the imminent apocalypse also became sexual impotence. However, even the all-powerful Dr. Manhattan cannot and have no interest in saving humanity from itself. Paradoxically, the only character who can save the world, thus remaining faithful to the superhero's mission, is Ozymandias, who is sometimes seen as the story's villain. However, like defining V as a hero reduces the character's complexity, seeing Ozymandias as a villain is equally dismissive. Ozymandias brings the superhero's mission to its extreme consequences. To save the world, he is forced to resort to the atrocity of mass murder. Is there a difference between V and Ozymandias? Ozymandias kills innocent people, but do these victims all deserve to die and suffer? From this point of view, there is no difference between the two. However, there is an essential difference in what they do after their mission is complete. V is aware, as we said before, that his actions are villainous, are evil. That's why he punishes himself at the end and he chooses to die. Ozymandias, on the contrary, plans to rule the new world he created. He actually tries to impose his personal utopia, like Red Son, while V just destroy and give the choice back to the people. V is morally saved for this choice. Like a Camusian homme revolte, he knows what is good and, despite himself, does evil. His work does not allow a non-violent solution, but also in this situation we cannot justify murder. To achieve honor in metaphysical terms, as Camus says, he must accept death to demonstrate that murder is unjustifiable. His actions remain morally wrong, even if there is no alternative. It is a paradox to which homme revolte is condemned, and to which these anti-heroes are condemned, because they find themselves dealing with a dystopian reality that prevents heroism, the impossibility of a pure heroism that instead slips into a more ambiguous anti-heroism does not necessarily mean the absence of evil. Dystopia is by definition a negative, evil reality. Besides, the ambiguity of those revolt could not exist if there was not an evil to fight, as Camus notices. If rebellion exists, it is because falsehood, injustice and violence are part of the rebel's condition. He cannot therefore absolutely claim not to kill or lie without renouncing his rebellion and accepting once and for all evil and murder. It is instead the good that becomes more ambiguous and uncertain. These actions are guilty, but so is London silence. The citizens of London who submit without opposing the fascist government of North Spire are also guilty, as is guilty Dr. Manhattan, who chooses to not take interest in humanity. If rebel make no choice, writes Camus, he chooses the silence and slavery of others. Silence or murder, in either case, a surrender. In these dystopias, despotic and totalitarian state, superheroes are necessarily compromised. The alternative is between an anti-heroic Camusian rebellion to fight a despotic regime, to do nothing, or to be themselves the cause of the oppression tool of such a regime in name of utopia. However, as dystopic House of M, Red Son's, V's or Watchmen's world are, they are still human reality. There is still a society that imposes order and meaning to the world, regardless of how much it is distorted and horrific. The good to which fight for can be uncertain and ambiguous, but it still exists. There is still the possibility to make a moral choice, even if it is always, as Camus writes, an application. There is a possibility to be a sort of hero, even if controversial and anti-heroic. The catastrophic dystopia does not offer the same possibility. It is a world where human civilization, as we know it, is destroyed. It is not important how exactly the civilization ends. It could have been a virus or a natural disaster. One of the most catastrophic dystopias in contemporary popular culture is, of course, the zombie apocalypse. It's fundamental to notice that the destruction has already happened. In DCeased, for example, we have zombies, but it is not yet a dystopic narrative, but rather a disaster movie, in which we see the beginning, maybe the beginning of a future dystopia. But there is still hope, there is still human, there is still a society. Here we have the classic dynamics of heroes and villains, even if they start to be blurred. There is still hope. In the catastrophic dystopia, however, there is nothing left to save. Marvel Zombies, for example, is an alternative Marvel universe, Earth 2149 to be exact, in which all the super beings turn into zombies, thus destroying humanity. There is nothing left to save or protect or even restore. The fight is not between heroes and villains, it's not between good and evil, but just between two different kinds of evils, between two different chaotic forces. It is not entirely correct to define these creatures as evil, like an earthquake or a hurricane or Galactus. They represent a destructive natural force, chaotic but amoral rather than immoral. They are consumed by a plague that brings destruction and death, leaving no choice to its victims, who cannot fight it back. Furthermore, the collapsing of society means the disappearance of moral order. The question, what is good, almost completely loses its meaning. How can we talk about heroes in this world? Without a good to fight for or a society to rebuild, what roles could have the hero? Inside a catastrophic dystopia, I quote, "There is no longer even a hero worthy of the name," writes Muzzioli. Of a catastrophic dystopia is the last man on the world typology. It is important to observe that even in this kind of dystopia, maybe the most extreme kind, where nothing remains, just a dead desert, it is still necessary a witness. To be a dystopia, someone must experience it. A last protagonist must be there. A deceptive world without anyone who could tell about it is just opaque and indifferent. Some examples of this kind of dystopic world are given by some of the comic books in the Marvel series The End. These are stories which proposes a possible end for famous Marvel characters. In Punisher The End, the last man dystopia is connected with the totalitarian one. A deep state causes the World War III and survived the Earth destruction they causes in a bunker, and they are prepared to rule the post-atomic world. Here we still see the possibility of a mission for Frank Castle to kill the last guilty persons on Earth, a mission which leads not to salvation, but to the ultimate annihilation of the human race. Once again, there is no possibility of redemption. There is no hope. If everyone is sacrificed mutually, the sacrifice is useless. A last example, Hulk the Hand. Hulk the Hand is a typical example of last man dystopian. Bruce Banner and his alter ego are the last survivors of a nuclear holocaust which kills not only humans but also animals and plants. Only dust and swarm of insects remain. The difference between superheroic characters that we saw until now and the characters of this kind of dystopia is the complete absence of a heroic mission. This mission and Ozymandias can be defined as heroic. They want to save the world. Even the Red Son or Wanda want to create a better, happier reality, even if it ultimately leads to a dystopic society. However, in a non-human world dominated by zombies or simply desertic and death, on what basis is it possible to distinguish between good and evil? The two concepts do not simply become confused, but disappear completely. The world remains senseless, chaotic, and doomed. A world that does not allow heroes. In a catastrophe, there is nothing left to save or to revolutionize. There is only cold. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions or feedback, you can write me on the following email. And here you find the bibliography and the credits for the images I use for this presentation.